talk about updating your style to reflect you and your sound. Miguel, he was one of my first big projects that I got to really rebrand. And it was during a time where he was coming off of the All I Want Is You album. I knew him for years, but we reconnected through a friend, and he was hiring new creatives. He wanted to make a change with his image as well, and we hit it off and worked together for about 5 years. During the All I Want Is You era, I felt like his costumes and his looks were a little bit too dark and mysterious, and they didn't really reflect who he was. They weren't connecting with his audience, and they also didn't reflect his music. I thought we should recreate a whole new idea with Kaleidoscope Dream. With Kaleidoscope Dreams, most of the aesthetic that was used for that was based off of punk, rockabilly, new wave, and classic rock. Why rockabilly? Rockabilly was really important because in Los Angeles, there's a very large Mexican rockabilly scene. And with Miguel's heritage being half Mexican and from Los Angeles, I wanted to tie that idea together with him to really create something that was authentic and rooted with who he was. When we decided to design his Kaleidoscope Dream Tour, which lasted for about 2 years, we were really heavy with suits. And the reason why we used a lot of suiting was because in the punk and rockabilly and new wave scenes, suits were a really big part of that style. So a lot of the suits weren't just like normal suits. They would be like cropped pants, reds, different kind of plaids, specifically Prince of Wales plaid, because that's a really important plaid in the punk culture. Pompadour hair, big sunglasses, motorcycle jackets, creepers. And when you go on tour, it's a really great opportunity to kind of show these new audiences who you are, whether you've changed your image or you're introducing who you are. Every time you go to a new city, it's a whole new group of people that not only get to hear what you sound like, but they get to look at you as well. And you can create this immersive environment. It's also a really great marketing strategy as well with repetition, because you want them to leave the show and think, that's the Miguel look, or that's the Prince look, or that's the David Bowie look. Again, a good way to do that is through repetition. I also want to talk about using your style as an introduction. Destiny Rogers. She's a brand new artist, and I was working with her this year. For her, it wasn't really about changing her style, but it was about showing people who she was. And she had a lot of great things to work with. She's a tomboy, she's a girl next door, and she's also a skater from California, which is a huge part of like her lifestyle is really California skating. Right now in culture, there's such a big resurgence of 90s street culture, with mid-90s coming out and Skate Kitchen and all the streetwear brands. I thought it was really important to capitalize on this moment with Destiny. So when I creative directed her music video, Northside, and I co-wrote the treatment, I wanted to make sure that that entire world that we were talking about was really there and very highly stylized. So we used a lot of strong youth in Los Angeles who are really a part of the scene. The styling on the kids was really authentic and natural too, because also, even though everything was very stylized, I wanted it to look really authentic. And even the way that she was styled, I made sure it was just one look, baggy cargo pants, Vans, so she can skate, and this sweatshirt by a really important brand in Los Angeles called Born and Raised, which is all about Latino Venice beach culture. Remember, when you're making these images, it's about not doing it at a pedestrian level. You want to make sure that everything is turned up a notch because you are selling a fantasy. So you want it more shiny, less pedestrian. So with me talking about research and how important that is, I want to share some of the ways that I research and the resources, and they're free for everybody. That's another wonderful thing about this. So I know when I first am saying research, you probably think social media and Google, and I think that those outlets are important because you want to know what's going on culturally and what's happening in society, but you don't want to rely on those too heavily because you'll just end up looking like everybody else. I prefer using books. Books are really important. You know, only 20% of the world's visual culture is online, which leaves 80% of the index out there for you to discover. Books, you can, rent them from the library. You can get really sophisticated with it and look for special books and specialty books and all of that. But through that, you can gain more knowledge and more unique information that maybe the other person doesn't have access to. Another place that I like to research are films. Films is like my number one thing because I have about 60 films that I own that I watch over and over and over again, and it's just endless inspiration. You know, I could see a film 100th time, and maybe that time I'm looking at this specific blouse, and it really has a different point of view for me because at the time I'm researching Prince, Diamonds and Pearls, and I need this chiffon blouse to go with these pearls or whatever, but films are just endless because there's always little nuances and things that you're gonna miss. I also like to use video streaming services. You can look at music videos from the past and the present, performances from the past and the present. Sometimes I even like to look at interviews. I'll look for, I was really into looking at Prince's Vanity 6 interviews for the longest, and you can just watch mannerisms of artists and how they dress and how their hair is and what their swag is, and really kind of nerd out on that, which I love. You know, finding yourself through research is really important. I mean, I find that even to this day, that research is my security blanket. And it's the way that I can really feel confident, because the more confident I am, the more that I can convey these new ideas and messages to my audience or to my clients. Research is real security. You want to take the love and effort that you put into your research and creating your music, and you want to put that same energy into yourself and what you look like. Perception is everything. So when people see you, it's really important that you reflect the music that you're making or the messages that you're trying to convey. Finding yourself visually through research is just as important as finding your sound. Thank you.
My name is I.C. Green. I'm an artist. And I was just curious, from a stylist perspective, when is the best time for an artist to seek out a stylist?
You're really trying to sell authenticity, right? You're introducing who you are. I think it's better to seek out a stylist when you're in a place where you're going to have all these photo shoots, like bigger photo shoots, you know, or you're gonna be on this carpet, you're gonna have to do this live TV performance. When it starts getting there, I think that's when the timing is right. Sometimes people have, in my opinion, stylists too early, where it's just like straight, you look like you're right out of the box. And I think that's less interesting.
Craig Curley, I'm an artist. When you're working with a new artist, what kind of questions are you asking to kind of drill down into their brand to kind of figure out what the look is going to be?
Yeah, I never come in and I'm like, this, you need to be rockabilly, this is what it is. No, it's usually from these conversations and dialogue I'm having with the artist, because I think it's really important that the artist's point of view is a part of it. Like, even if they're like the worst dressed or I think it's just awful, I think their point of view is really important, because that's how you can come off authentically. And that's at least my goal when I work with people. Thank you.